Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. This time we're taking a look at something that you probably use every single day, and it's probably like in your pocket right now.
hmm
We're talking about Android.
Yes.
You sent us some really interesting Wikipedia excerpts about it, and we're so ready to dig in and uncover some surprising facts.
Yeah,
I've got my metaphorical shovel ready. How about you?
absolutely. What fascinates me about Android is that, we tend to box it in as just a smartphone operating system,
Right.
but it's so much more than that.
Yeah.
It's everywhere, from your car to your TV, maybe even your refrigerator. There's a really good chance you've interacted with Android today and didn't even realize it.
Android-powered refrigerators. Okay, now that's what I call a deep dive. So let's talk about this whole Android everywhere thing. I was reading through the Wikipedia article you sent over, and it sounds like they're popping up in some pretty unexpected places.
It's a testament to how adaptable the Android operating system is, you see. Its open source nature allows developers to mold it to fit a wide range of devices.
hmm
This flexibility is a huge factor in why Android is dominating the global market.
Dominating is right. This Wikipedia article says that Android holds a massive 45% of the global operating system market share as of October 2024.
Wow.
That's almost half the entire market.
Yeah,
You mentioned open source, though. Can you explain what exactly that means and why it's been such a game changer for Android?
sure. In the simplest terms, open source means the code behind the operating system is freely available for anyone to use, modify, and even distribute. Think of it like a recipe that anyone can tweak.
Okay.
This openness has allowed a global community of developers and manufacturers to have a hand in Android's development, leading to its rapid evolution and widespread adoption.
So instead of one company controlling everything, it's like a global team effort that's propelled Android to be the most popular operating system on the planet.
Right.
That's incredible. And it's not just in those high-end smartphones either. We're talking budget-friendly devices too. Speaking of high-end, the article mentioned Google's Nexus and Pixel lines. What was Google's angle there?
Venturing into their own hardware with the Nexus and Pixel lines was a strategic move by Google.
Okay.
These devices ran stock Android, completely free from the customizations other manufacturers often add. Essentially, Google wanted to showcase the true potential of a pure Android experience, with faster updates, smoother performance, and a cleaner interface.
So Google was basically saying this is what peak Android performance looks like. It's like setting the gold standard for other manufacturers, right?
Precisely. They were demonstrating the possibilities of a streamlined, bloat-free Android experience.
But even with those successes, Google has had its fair share of missteps along the way, right? I'm talking about the Google graveyard mentioned in the article. It sounds a little ominous, to be honest.
Yeah, a little bit. The Google Graveyard refers to some of Google's projects that didn't quite hit the mark. Remember those Google Play Edition phones?
Yeah.
Or the Android at Home project?
Mm.
While innovative, these initiatives just didn't gain the traction Google had hoped for.
So even a tech giant like Google strikes out sometimes. It makes you realize that innovation comes with risks, and not every experiment is going to be a home run.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But those failures offer valuable lessons. Google's willingness to experiment, take risks, and even abandon projects that aren't working highlights their dynamic approach to innovation. They're constantly learning, adapting, and evolving their strategies based on user feedback and market trends.
That's a great lesson for all of us, actually.
Right.
Always learning and adapting. But let's shift gears a bit and delve into the techie stuff. The article talked about the languages that power Android, Java, Kotlin, C++. It's a whole lot of jargon for a non-tech person like me. Where do we even start with all that?
It can definitely feel overwhelming if you're not familiar with programming languages.
Yeah.
In the early days, Java was the go-to language for Android development.
Okay.
However, as technology advanced and Google sought a more efficient and performance-driven approach, they introduced Kotlin as their preferred language for app development in 2019.
So it's like trading in your old reliable car for a sleek new sports car. Kotlin just offers a smoother, faster coding experience compared to Java.
That's a great analogy. However, it's not about completely replacing Java. It's still widely used by many developers, often in combination with Kotlin. And then you have C++ly, which comes into play in areas demanding high performance. The key takeaway here is that Android is built on technology that's constantly pushing the envelope, always evolving, and this evolution impacts developers and users alike.
It's like a reminder that in tech, things never stand still. There's always a new innovation right around the corner. Speaking of innovation, let's rewind back to the birth of this little green robot. The article paints a picture of a company facing eviction, a $10,000 lifeline from a friend, and then Google swoops in for what they call the best deal ever. It sounds like something out of a Silicon Valley TV show.
You're absolutely right. It's a captivating story. Before Android became synonymous with Google, it was a fledgling startup on the verge of shutting down, literally facing eviction from their office space.
Oh.
That's when Steve Perlman, a friend of Android's founder, Andy Rubin, stepped in with a $10,000 loan that essentially saved the company.
Wow, a $10,000 loan that changed the course of tech history. That's an investment with some serious ROI. So how did Google get involved?
Soon after that lucky break, Google recognized Android's immense potential and acquired the company for a reported $50 million.
Wow.
This move is often referred to as Google's best deal ever. And for good reason. To understand why, just imagine the tech landscape without Android. It's almost unthinkable how different things would be.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's incredible to think that a company on the brink of collapse would go on to power billions of devices worldwide. What a turn of events. But with such a massive reach, I imagine security becomes a major concern. Let's unpack that, shall we?
You're absolutely right to bring up security. It's a critical aspect of any operating system, especially one as widely used as Android. It's a constant balancing act, really.
What do you mean by that?
Well, on one hand, Android's openness is its greatest strength. It allows for incredible flexibility and customization, right?
Right.
But that same openness can also create vulnerabilities, like leaving the back door open to your house.
Okay, I see what you mean. So it's about finding that sweet spot where you have enough freedom for developers and users without, like, compromising security. So how has Android fared in terms of security breaches? The Wikipedia article mentioned a few.
Yeah, unfortunately, there have been some high-profile security breaches over the years. One that comes to mind is the Pegasus spyware.
Right.
This nasty piece of software could secretly access a user's phone data, including messages, location, even camera, and microphone access.
That's terrifying. It sounds like something straight out of a spy thriller.
It definitely raises some serious privacy concerns. And then there were instances where vulnerabilities exposed user login credentials.
Oh, wow.
There are even reports of pre-installed malware on some Android devices.
So it's not just about external threats. It's also about ensuring that the devices themselves are secure from the inside out.
Exactly. But it's not all doom and gloom. Android has built-in security features designed to mitigate these risks.
Like what?
One example is app sandboxing. Think of it like each app being contained within its own secure little bubble, unable to access sensitive system resources without your, explicit permission.
So it's like putting up walls between the apps to prevent them from snooping on each other or stealing my data.
That's a great way to put it. On top of that, Google is constantly working to bolster Android's security. They roll out regular updates and utilize Google Play Protect to scan for and weed out malicious apps from the Play Store.
It sounds like a never-ending game of cat and mouse. The bad guys are always looking for new ways to exploit weaknesses, and Google is striving to stay one step ahead. It makes you wonder, though, where does the responsibility lie? Is it solely on Google, or do users play a part in keeping their devices secure?
That's a great question. And the answer is that security is a shared responsibility. While Google is responsible for building a secure platform, users also play a vital role. You have to be cautious about the apps you download, pay attention to the permissions they request, and crucially, keep your phone's software updated.
That's good advice for any smartphone user, regardless of the operating system. Being mindful of our digital footprint is, crucial these days. Speaking of competition, the article also touched on Android's main rival, Apple's iOS. It even mentioned how Android influenced other operating systems like Microsoft Windows. Could you elaborate on that a bit?
Absolutely. The competition between Android and iOS has been a defining force in the mobile tech world. It's a classic David versus Goliath story, with Android, the newcomer, eventually taking the lead in global market share.
So Android really flipped the script and became the top dog. I didn't realize it had surpassed iOS in market share. That's pretty impressive.
It really is a testament to their strategy and innovation. And this constant rivalry has been a driving force for both operating systems to constantly push the boundaries, ultimately benefiting users with better features, smoother performance, and enhanced security.
Competition often breeds innovation, doesn't it? It keeps everyone on their toes. But how did Android influence other players like Microsoft Windows? They seem like such different beasts.
You're right, they are quite distinct. However, Android's success, especially its vast app ecosystem, made Microsoft rethink its approach. They've been integrating Android app support into Windows, recognizing that people want access to the apps they love, regardless of the device.
So if you can't beat them, embrace them. It's a smart move by Microsoft. Why try to reinvent the wheel when you can tap into an already thriving app ecosystem, right?
Precisely. But it goes beyond just app support. Android's open-source nature has also prompted other operating systems to explore open-source models, realizing the power of a community-driven approach to development.
So Android has become a bit of a role model in the tech world. It's not just competing, it's setting trends and influencing the direction of technology as a whole. That's really interesting.
It is, but it hasn't been all smooth sailing for Android. The article also delved into some legal hurdles they've faced.
Yeah.
One that stood out was the patent lawsuit with Oracle.
Oh, right, the Oracle case. That was a big deal, wasn't it? I remember hearing about it, but the details are a bit hazy for me. Could you give us a rundown?
Sure. The Oracle lawsuit was a long and complicated legal battle, centered on Google's use of Java APIs in Android. Oracle claimed Google infringed on their copyrights, while Google argued that their use of Java fell under fair use.
So it was a battle over the very building blocks of Android's code.
Essentially, yes. The case dragged on for years, going through appeals and multiple rulings. In the end, though, Google emerged victorious. The court ruled that their use of Java APIs constituted fair use, setting a major precedent for software development.
That must have been a huge relief for Google. And I imagine it had significant implications for the tech industry as a whole.
Absolutely. The ruling clarified the boundaries of fair use in the context of software development, a crucial issue in our increasingly digital world.
It's amazing how a single legal case can have such a widespread impact. But the Oracle lawsuit wasn't the only legal challenge Android has faced, right?
Unfortunately, no. The article also mentioned antitrust investigations in the EU, focusing on Google's dominance in the mobile market.
Right.
Yeah,
So it's not just about code ownership, but also about how a company as big as Google wields its power in the tech landscape.
exactly. The EU has raised concerns about Google potentially favoring its own services on Android devices, potentially stifling competition.
So it's about ensuring a level playing field and preventing monopolies.
Yeah.
These are crucial issues that impact everyone, not just the tech giants themselves.
You're absolutely right. But let's shift gears from the legal battles and talk about the devices themselves. We've covered smartphones extensively, but Android's reach extends far beyond that. The article highlighted its presence in TVs, watches, and even household appliances like refrigerators and coffee makers.
The idea of an Android-powered coffee maker just blows my mind. It seems like every aspect of our lives is becoming intertwined with technology, especially Android. Where do you see this trend heading in the future?
It's mind-boggling, isn't it? We're witnessing a convergence of the physical and digital worlds. Android is right at the heart of it, acting as a bridge between those two realms. If Android can power a simple watch and a complex machine like a refrigerator, the potential for a truly seamless smart home experience is enormous.
It's like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. We're on the verge of having homes that anticipate our needs and respond to our commands. But with all this interconnectedness, what about the ethical considerations? Are there risks involved in handing so much control to technology?
Those are excellent questions and ones we need to grapple with. We've talked about security and privacy concerns, but there's also the often overlooked issue of sustainability.
Sustainability. How does that tie into the world of Android and smartphones?
Think about the sheer scale of Android devices in use globally. Billions and billions of smartphones, tablets, and other gadgets.
Right.
The production, shipping, and eventual disposal of these devices have a huge environmental impact.
That's true. It's easy to forget about the environmental cost of our tech consumption. So are there any solutions in sight?
Thankfully, yes. Manufacturers are starting to prioritize sustainability by exploring more eco-friendly materials and production methods. We're also seeing a push for responsible recycling programs and e-waste management to address the disposal problem.
That's good to hear. It sounds like the tech industry is finally starting to take responsibility for its environmental footprint.
It's a step in the right direction. And we, as consumers, have a part to play as well. By being conscious of our consumption habits, choosing devices with a longer lifespan, and properly recycling old gadgets, we can collectively contribute to a more sustainable future for Android and the tech industry at large.
It's a team effort, just like the open source approach that's been instrumental to Android's success. Speaking of open source, we talked earlier about how it's influenced other operating systems. Do you see that trend continuing, or will something else come along and disrupt it?
I think the impact of Android's open source model is far from over. It's proven to be a catalyst for innovation. It's broken down barriers, fostered collaboration, and accelerated the pace of development in unprecedented ways.
So in a way, Android isn't just a competitor in the tech space, but also a driving force shaping its future.
Absolutely. And this influence is spilling over into other sectors,
Yeah.
beyond just operating systems. We're seeing open source principles being adopted in fields like scientific research, education, even government.
It's fascinating how a concept from the tech world can have such far-reaching implications. It speaks volumes about the power of collaboration and knowledge sharing.
It truly does. But let's bring our focus back to Android. We've covered its fascinating journey, from its near-death experience to its global domination. What can you tell us about its future? What does the road ahead look like for our little green robot friend?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? What does the future hold for Android?
Predicting the future of technology is always a tricky business. It's constantly evolving at a dizzying pace. However, it's safe to say that Android will continue to play a central role in our increasingly digital lives.
It seems like the possibilities are endless.
They really are. We might see Android powering self-driving cars, medical devices, and other innovations we haven't even imagined yet. The line between the physical and digital worlds will blur even further.
It's both exciting and a little daunting to imagine a future so intertwined with technology. It makes you realize that Android's journey is far from over, and it's one that will continue to shape how we live, work, and interact with the world around us.
And as we navigate this exciting, ever-evolving landscape, it's crucial to stay informed, ask critical questions, and foster thoughtful conversations about the role of technology in our lives.
Well said. And that's exactly what we've aimed to do with this deep dive. We've explored the multifaceted world of Android, from its humble beginnings to its global impact. Hopefully, we've sparked your curiosity to continue exploring and learning.
So the next time you pick up your smartphone, take a moment to appreciate the intricate technology that powers it. And remember, the world of Android is vast and always evolving.
It's been a pleasure diving deep with you today. Until next time, keep exploring and keep those questions coming.